Hi, welcome to Realism Unlocked. This is a 3-day charcoal art challenge where we will be discovering 3 secret keys to achieve realism in 3 days. Each day, you will receive one video tutorial along with an accountability email where I'll be sharing the reference photo along with the supplies list. Don't forget to check the description box below where I have given the link to sign up for this challenge emails. Today is day 1 and we are going to learn about the first important key to achieve realism, which is values. And this is the beautiful sketch that we are going to do in today's tutorial. Let's get started.
In this video, I'll be demonstrating on a 5 size sheet. Now I am securing all the 4 sides with masking tape. Let's begin with outline of today's drawing. I'll teach you a simple method to create the outline. First you have to draw a square. It doesn't have to be a perfect square. Just draw 4 lines and then draw a teardrop shape for the head of the elephant. You can check the link in the description to get the reference image and also sign up for the accountability emails for this art challenge. Now we are going to construct the outline of the elephant's body using the square and the oval that we drew earlier. Make sure you don't apply a lot of pressure while doing the outline because in charcoal work we don't want a pressure on the paper. I usually use a lighter grade pencil like a 2H or a HB pencil. So in this video I'm using a 2H pencil and that's why it could be very lighter for you in the video. I have also pinned the image of the elephant that we are drawing today on the top left corner for your reference. You could also download the reference image and draw from that. Now I am drawing the legs of the elephant. For the back leg, I am just making it a little tilted and upward. Now I am drawing a simple C shape to make the ear of the elephant. Again, be very gentle with your strokes and don't apply a lot of pressure while doing the outline. Now I am going to draw the trunk of the elephant. Just draw a small oval shape on the top and then connect that with the head of the elephant with a curved line, as you can see in the image that I have pinned on the top. Join that to the head of the elephant. Just make sure you follow the curve of the oval shape that we had done earlier. Once that is done, we are going to erase all the construction lines of the square and the oval that we drew in the beginning. And this is how your outline would look like. I used a regular white eraser to erase it. Let's begin with charcoal. I'm taking a soft charcoal pencil and marking out all the darkest areas in this reference diagram. Through this drawing, we are going to discover the first key to realism, which is values. Values is how light or how dark a color is. And in charcoal medium, you know it's a monochrome medium and the color is black. We have to use the white of the paper, the black of the charcoal to bring in all the middle tones to help us create a realistic art on paper. Values help to bring realism to any artwork because they depict how light and shadow fall on an object. This helps create realism, depth, and form. By achieving different tonal values, we will be able to create a sense of three dimensionality on a flat surface. Here I have marked out all the shadow areas on this object. This is a clay figurine of an elephant and the light is falling from top right corner and hence the shadow is falling on the opposite side. So you could see all the objects that are behind and away from light are getting the shadow and hence the darkest tones goes there. Now I am using a small flat brush for blending all the pencil marks that I did earlier with a charcoal pencil. I'm gently blending all the pencil marks to a soft blend. Light is falling from the top right corner, as I said. So, on the opposite side, you'll have all the other shadow regions. These are the darkest areas. Creating your darkest area first gives you a reference of the darkest value in your artwork, and based on that, you can judge the lightness of other tones. I'm removing the excess dust that created from blending the pencil marks. I have my charcoal dust in a small box and I'm picking up a little bit on a brush, and then I'm blending around the pencil mark that we earlier created. This is going to give a soft transition from the dark value to light value. I am marking the shadow area behind the ear of the elephant figurine. I'm blending in a circular motion along the body of the elephant. Now I'm taking a flat brush to soften the edges. Now I'm taking a bigger brush around size 8 to blend on the body of the elephant. Observe how I am doing it in circular motion so that I don't get any streaks or lines in my blending. Don't apply a lot of pressure, and make sure you are taking very less amount of charcoal, or even just a stained brush would really help. You don't have to add a lot of charcoal dust onto your paper, which will create a lot of mess, which can ruin the tonal values of the drawing. When you're adding values, make sure you follow the shape of the object that you are creating, because it helps in sculpting the object to look like a three-dimensional form. Slowly blending all the lighter values. Make sure you don't apply a lot of pressure or don't take a lot of charcoal for this particular value. Use a stained brush and slowly blend in circular motion. Now I'm adding the shadow part to the belly of the elephant. Gently blend it in circular motion. Again, I'm using a stained brush. I have not picked up any charcoal. Follow that curved shape of elephant's belly so that it looks like it has a little bit of bulge on the stomach area. Keep this tone lighter at this moment. You can always come back and add a darker tone to balance the tonal values later on. I'm gently blending in all the values in the leg area and the stomach area, and gently blending them to give that soft transition. I'm being very gentle with my brush and using it in circular motion to create that soft transition or blending. Now I'm taking a smaller brush and adding a little bit of shadow onto the ear to create that depth in the ear. Again, take a stained brush, don't take a brush loaded with charcoal dust. It will be too dark for this area. create that inner shape. Now I'm taking a clean brush and I am just blending it all over. Whenever I want to blend a lighter value, I always take a clean brush. Now I'm taking the smaller brush with little bit of charcoal, and then I'm slightly blending it on the head portion. This is where a little bit of shadow is falling. I'm taking some charcoal dust and blending near the trunk area. Just follow along the shape of the trunk. It has taken a curved shape, so make sure you blend in that way. You could rotate your sketch to make it easier for blending. It should have a dark to light transition. Now I'm taking a flat brush to create that dark to light transition. Remember we earlier used a charcoal pencil to mark out the darkest area. So now from that darkest pencil mark to the charcoal dust, we are creating a soft transition. Similarly, I'm blending on the head portion around the ear very lightly with gentle circular brush strokes. I'm slightly darkening the area around the ear to give it a little more depth. Now I'm using a clean brush to give the lightest tones, a very light shadow below the head portion, around the ear, and towards the lower leg, and gently blend it with the belly shadow that we had given earlier. You could refer to the reference image to see how that lightest tone is taking form. I'm adding another layer of charcoal dust over here to make it little more darker, as I felt it could go a little darker. Gradually increase the darkness as and when you feel it needs to get a little darker compared to other values. I feel this area also needs a little more darkness. So I'm going there again and adding a layer of charcoal dust. Again, I have not picked up additional charcoal dust. I have taken a stain brush and I'm just creating the shadow with it. I'm also blending the back legs which were not receiving any light. Gradually, I'm increasing the tonal values wherever required, like in this leg area where I felt it should go a little darker to bring in that form and depth. And over here, it needs to go a little darker compared to the other part of the stomach. Even this area is not receiving a lot of light, and hence it should go a little darker. I picked up a little bit of charcoal dust, like very minimal amount of dust, and I blended in that area. Now I'm taking a soft flat brush and I'm marking out the area near the leg where the light is also hitting. This creates a kind of cylindrical form to the leg of the elephant, and this is a very light tone, so make sure you just take a stained brush instead of picking up some charcoal before applying to this region. Now I'm using a medium grade charcoal pencil. This is a woodless charcoal pencil. You could also use a normal charcoal pencil, but make sure it is having a sharp tip because we are adding the details here. Around the ear I could see there is some shadow and I'm marking out that line. And below the legs we have the shadow, so I am marking out that. Below all four legs we have to mark out the shadow region. And then I'm using a flat soft brush and I'm blending that mark which we just now created with the charcoal pencil. I'm gently blending it smoothly. Again, I'm blending everything, all the shadow markings that we did with a soft flat brush. You could also rotate your drawing to make it easier for you to blend in a particular direction. I always stick my drawing paper onto a board or a writing pad because it really helps me to move my paper very easily and it also gives a sturdy support. Now I'm using a bigger brush to blend the shadow area because this area is like below the elephant figurine and is casting the shadow of the elephant body. For all the softer blends, I usually use a bigger brush. Now the first layer of the shadow is done. I'm taking a lighter brush and I'm gently blending it all together. Now I'm using a very tiny round brush to blend the area around the ear where I just marked the shadow region and inside the trunk and around the eye that we just marked. Just take a very tiny round brush of size 1 or 0. Now I'm using my flat brush to blend it out further. And there is a very detailed shadow with reflection that is being seen under the ear, like in this portion. So I'm using a tinted brush to create that shadow region. This shows the thickness of the ear. Since it's a ceramic figurine, It is having this kind of a form, and beneath that we have the shadow region. Now I'm taking my eraser pencil and erasing all the highlights. This is on top of the eyelid, and now I'm removing all the marks that are outside the figurine. Any extra strokes or any smudged blending outside the figurine that I am erasing with a eraser pencil. And this is one of the best eraser pencil that I have used. You can check out my supplies guide list in the description below to get a detailed guide on all the art supplies for the charcoal medium that I use. It has also got a lot of pro tips to help you choose the best material, along with list of materials from where you can buy them. Now around the figurine I'm completely erasing all the additional smudges and any blending that has come a little bit out of the boundary. Now I'm using a kneadable eraser to pick up all those extra dust that got generated from erasing. Just make a pointed tip and pick up all the eraser dust. I'm just dabbing it onto the paper where the eraser dust is present, and the kneadable eraser will pick up all those dust. Now I'm marking a little highlight on the ear. You could closely see the reference image that I have shared to observe this changes. They are very subtle, but adding these kind of tiny details bring a lot of life to your subject. Now I'm taking a lighter brush and I'm just blending the shadow further. I usually don't like to leave my paper completely white, so I'm adding a very tinted background. I have taken a stained brush and I'm gently moving it in circular directions. Maybe it's a very light tone and could not be visible on the video, but it's a very light tone. Adding this light tone will actually make your absolute whites in the figurine pop up. Now I'm using a soft blender brush to blend out that background, which is a very light tone. Always start with being very light and then you can gradually make it darker if you want. Now I'm creating similar gradient on the bottom portion, and at the bottom I'm going a little darker compared to the top portion. Now I'm using a lighter brush to gently blend everything together. Don't go inside the figurine and blend it. It will get smudged and the outlines won't be crisp. I felt like adding a little darker tone around the trunk so that the trunk pops up with the highlight that is falling on it. Now I'm using my soft blender brush to make that little tone come up. Around the trunk, I'm slightly using my brush with very light and minimal pressure. If you want, you can make it a little darker. Now I'm using a hard bristle brush which doesn't have any charcoal on it, it's just a stained brush, and I'm just blending it all over to make it look even, and using a soft brush to make it a little darker so that the trunk stands out. I'm doing the same thing on the top corner to bring them all together. People often ask me about how I achieve soft blending in my charcoal works, and it mainly depends on pressure control, the direction in which you're blending, and also the amount of charcoal you're handling. So, I have created a set of exercises inside my online course, Charcoal Realism Foundation, to teach the exact steps to achieve this. Here, I'm smoothing it all out with a clean brush. Now, I'm using a eraser pencil to lift up the highlights on the elephant's trunk. As soon as I create this highlight, you can already see how the trunk is standing out from the background. Be very gentle with this step. Don't rub it too hard. With very minimal pressure, I'm doing this. You could also use a kneadable eraser in this area where you want to erase a soft highlight. I'm gently erasing it to bring out that whitish highlight. I felt like adding a little tail to this elephant figurine, so I took my medium charcoal pencil and I'm drawing the tail for it. After doing the marking from the charcoal pencil, I'm using a synthetic flat brush to blend this well. Now I'm using a small round brush to blend it further. Whenever I have to blend in smaller areas, I go for synthetic brushes. Now I'm using a pencil eraser to give it a little highlight, and then using my charcoal pencil to add a little bit of shadow and blending it all again. Again, I'm using my 8 size bigger brush to give a little bit of darkness in this portion. The tones can go a little darker in these regions. With that, we are done with the sketch for today.
So that's the end of today's tutorial, and I hope you enjoyed creating this beautiful artwork along with me. Do share your creations and I would love to see them. See you in day 2 tutorial.